In Iraq, a wedding banquet blaze leaves dozens dead.
Authorities have yet to say a word on the cause of the fire. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signs the Trabajo para sa Bayan Act into law. Philippines seeks re-election into the International Maritime Council. South Korea's Yoon Suk-yeol to pay a state visit to the United Kingdom. One killed and a dozen in critical condition as a French diner served a deadly sardine dish. And let's greet Google a happy birthday as it turns 25. The Department of Education, or DepEd, issued a memorandum order this afternoon suspending classes in Cagayan de Oro as widespread cough and colds were reported among students. DepEd Assistant School Superintendent Alagao-Flores said the order also encouraged schools to adopt the COVID-19 virus health protocols like washing of the hands, social distancing, avoiding crowds, and the use of face masks. Flores said that modular classes will be implemented as classes remain suspended. Universities and colleges in Cagayan de Oro City, however, suspended classes ahead of the DepEd memo as fears of unconfirmed reports of the Nipah virus spreading. School officials also disinfected their campuses to contain the virus outbreak. Health experts said the Nipah virus, or NIV 2023, is acquired through contact with infected animals like fruits and pigs, fruit bats and pigs, partially eaten by fruit bats. Earlier this month, over 700 people tested positive for Nipah virus in India, while 2 deaths were logged. Currently, there are no vaccines or drugs available against Nipah virus. But the World Health Organization, or WHO, identified Nipah virus as a priority research and development blueprint. The WHO said those who are infected with Nipah virus develop fever, headache, muscle pain, sore throat, vomiting, and in some cases, acute respiratory infection and fatal encephalitis. On Tuesday, the Department of Health, or DOH, clarified that there are no laboratory confirmed cases of Nipah virus in the Philippines. The DOH concluded that while there are indeed cases of students and faculty in Cagayan de Oro City who are experiencing similar signs and symptoms, it is not conclusive to declare such a virus as the causative agent. DOH said the first Nipah virus case in the country was detected in Sultan Kudarat in 2014. The health agency also said just in case the NIV enters the Philippines, the government can learn from other countries how to contain it, as there were already previous cases recorded.
Justice Chief Jesus Crispin Remulla reiterates the country's commitment in adopting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This marks the 75th anniversary of the Philippines' adoption of the said international framework. Remulla urges the Philippine government to work cooperatively with the local and international bodies to ensure its goals. The Justice Chief also warns the public of entities spreading fake news about the government's human rights agenda. The Department of Justice is committed to working relentlessly to boost the legal conventions that protect human rights.
The Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has emphasized that the Philippine National Police, or PNP, reform bill represents a crucial step in addressing the challenges faced by law enforcement in the country. Senator Ronald De La Rosa underscores the significance of the bill as the first comprehensive legislative reform of the National Police since 1998. The bill's primary objective is or include the institutionalization of offices established by the National Police Commission, or NPC. It also aims to centralize the power to appoint chiefs of police, transferring this authority from mayors and governors to the PNP chief.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declined a suggestion to temporarily lower tariffs on imported rice. He announced this after a sectoral meeting held at Malacanang Palace. The National Economic and Development Authority had put forward the idea to alleviate local rice prices. Nonetheless, the president has emphasized advice from agricultural and economic experts, noting that now wasn't the appropriate moment to reduce tariff rates. Projections indicate a potential decrease in global rice prices, and historically, tariffs are adjusted when prices are on the rise. President Marcos also adds that the current price cap will remain in effect, highlighting the need for careful study and consideration.
The House of Representatives has successfully passed a pivotal bill aimed at redefining and instituting more stringent penalties for crimes related to agricultural economic sabotage. Known as the Anti-Agri-Fishery Commodities and Tobacco Economic Sabotage Act, the legislation categorizes activities such as large-scale smuggling and hoarding, among others, as acts of economic sabotage. The bill outlines life imprisonment as the maximum penalty for individuals found guilty of these offenses and imposes a substantial fine amounting to 6 times the fair market value of the products involved. To ensure the effective enforcement of this legislation, the bill calls for the establishment of a task force operating under the control and supervision of the Office of the President. It includes a dedicated team of prosecutors specializing in cases pertaining to the identified offenses.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has officially signed the Trabajo para sa Bayan Act, a legislation aimed at constructing a comprehensive national master plan to combat unemployment and underemployment.
Sa pagpasa ng batas na ito, binubuksan natin ang isang bagong yugto sa ating bansa kung saan mayroong sapat at dekalidad na trabaho para sa lahat.
President Marcos emphasizes its potential to address a multitude of challenges within the labor sector, including the prevalence of low-quality jobs and skills mismatch. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, will spearhead the interagency council formed by the new law. This council is tasked with formulating the national plan and expediting the implementation of the law through carefully crafted rules and regulations. NEDA has made it clear that their efforts will concentrate on enhancing the skills and expertise of Filipino workers through upskilling and reskilling initiatives. They will also be providing crucial support to micro, small, and medium enterprises, further fortifying the nation's labor landscape.
The Philippines will host a 2-week joint drill with the United States next month. JD Mahinay for the details.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, has announced that the Philippine Navy will join its United States counterpart in a 2-week drill in the country. Dubbed Exercise Sama-Sama, it is scheduled to run from October 2 to October 12, 2023. AFP notes that the said drills will be held at the Naval Forces Southern Luzon areas of operation, with the opening ceremony at the Naval Station Andrada in Manila. Sama-Sama is a bilateral exercise that aims to further boost the international defense cooperation of the participants in their commitment to a rules-based international order. Forces from Japan, Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom will join the said drills subject matter expert exchanges. Meanwhile, the New Zealand and Indonesian navies would join as observers. JD Mahinay reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Defense Chief Gilberto Chodoro Jr. has clarified that the Philippines is not provoking any trouble in Scarborough Shoal, but simply reacting to China's actions. This is after Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Wenbin accused Philippines of stirring up trouble in the said waters. The defense chief lamented that Beijing is the one provoking, as they are blocking the country's fisherfolk. Chinese Coast Guard recently installed a 300-meter floating barrier off the waters of Scarborough Shoal. The Philippine Coast Guard had confirmed the removal of the barrier upon instructions of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
The Philippine government has declared its intention to seek re-election to the International Maritime Organization, or IMO Council. Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista has underscored the country's strong rationale for maintaining its position within the Council. He points out that the Philippines stands as the fifth largest shipbuilding nation, a testament to its significant contributions to the global maritime industry. Furthermore, the country holds a distinction of being the preferred choice of seafarers in the global crew market. Bautista also affirmed the Philippines' commitment to safeguarding the marine environment, aiming to achieve this by actively participating as a member of the IMO Council.
Coming up, the U.S. Congress proposes cutting aid to Ukraine. Canada's House Speaker resigns after the honoring of a Nazi in Congress. And a manhunt is on for Venezuela's prison gang boss. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
This tuhang makaka-relate kay you.
Menopause. Meron ka bang nararamdaman ng mga signs ng menopause?
Menopause really happens. In my case, I had a condition called endometriosis.
Miss Corina, ganda po ng hair nyo. Ano pong shampoo nyo?
Mapa-senior man kay you.
My apos are here, they're here with me, and they give me such joy. And so, kung hindi ako magtatrabaho, how could I spoil them?
O Gen Z.
Nar is actually an accent from Australia. So like when you say no, you don't say no. They say nar.
Bida kayo dito. Shamay! So,
Let's just always choose to be kind.
Kaya ugaliin ang tumutok kung saan masaya at maganda ang simula ng araw. 10 a.m. to 12, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, kada umaga.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol is set to meet King Charles III in the United Kingdom this November. The state visit marks the first visit of a South Korean president to UK after a decade. The last such visit done was in 2013 by former President Park Geun-hye. State media reports that specific dates of the trip have not yet been announced. Royal sources say there would likely be a gun salute and a carriage procession to Buckingham Palace, followed by a state banquet.
China says that its recent military drill around Taiwan's island was meant to combat the arrogance of alleged separatists. Beijing claims Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and her Democratic Progressive Party are separatists. China adds that Tsai has sought to isolate the island internationally. This is after Tsai made meetings with the United States politicians Nancy Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy. Taiwan's defense ministry said it had detected almost daily activity by China's military. This includes fighter jets, drones, warships, and Beijing's aircraft carrier Shandong.
India's foreign minister says New Delhi is open to looking into relevant information Canada provides on Hardeep Singh Najjar. India has told Canada it is open to looking into any specific information that Canada's government can provide. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Ottawa had credible intelligence linking Indian agents to the murder, prompting an angry initial reaction from New Delhi, which denies the allegation. Asked about the allegation at a Council on Foreign Relations event in New York, India's Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar detailed New Delhi's response in diplomatic engagements. India last week suspended new visas for Canadians and asked Ottawa to reduce its diplomatic presence in the country, citing what it called a deteriorating security environment.
United States Army Chief Randy George holds talks with its allies to discuss threats in the Asia-Pacific. The U.S. Army chief also raised the importance of the region. Indian Army Chief Manoj Pandey vowed to boost cooperation with the U.S. to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that Beijing condemns any efforts of a wanton expansion of military alliance in response to Washington deepening security ties in the Asia-Pacific.
A video has emerged featuring Russian Black Sea Commander Admiral Viktor Sokolov appearing in good health after Ukraine claimed his demise. Ukraine had initially reported Sokolov's death along with 33 other officers in a missile attack on the port of Sevastopol in Crimea. Moscow had refrained from commenting on the Ukrainian claim. In the same video showcasing Sokolov alive and well, Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has presented updates on the war. He reports that more than 17,000 Ukrainian soldiers had been killed in September and over 2,700 weapons destroyed. Shoigu also accuses the West of continuously arming Ukraine, contributing to senseless assaults in Kyiv's counteroffensive, which has shown limited progress at the front lines.
United States Solons proposed a major cut to Washington's aid for Ukraine. This is after the federal government was forced to compromise ahead of a looming budget crisis. The Solons agreed to slash nearly $20 billion in proposed aid for the war-torn country. The upper chamber ended debates on the budget legislation Tuesday night, garnering the support needed to continue to a final vote. The stopgap bill also earmarks approximately $6 billion for assistance to Ukraine, a significant drop from the original $25 billion.
The United States says it would pause assistance to Gabon after the military took charge last month. Irvin Arquiza reports.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. government is halting certain foreign assistance programs benefiting the government of Gabon. This, he says, while the U.S. evaluates the unconstitutional intervention by members of Gabon's military. Blinken says the U.S. was maintaining diplomatic and consular operations in the oil-rich Central African country. The aid stoppage is temporary. The State Department considers a formal determination that Gabon experienced a military coup. Under U.S. law, a military coup would snap off assistance, which, according to officials, was minimal to Gabon. Gabonese military leaders on August 30 overthrew Ali Bongo Ondimba just as he was proclaimed the winner of an election widely criticized for irregularities. The military installed as prime minister the opposition leader Raymond Ndong Sima. Sima, in an address to the United Nations last week, promised to take steps to hold new elections and called on the West not to condemn the coup without nuance. Gabon has been run by the Bongo family for more than half a century. Irvin Arquiza for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In a historic first for a sitting U.S. president, Joe Biden joined striking auto workers on the picket line in Michigan. Jane Kathleen Gregorio has the details.
80-year-old Democrat wears a baseball cap with the logo of the United Auto Workers, or UAW union. President Joe Biden tells banner-waving employees through a megaphone that he was on their side. Republican Donald Trump will visit Michigan on Wednesday. This will turn the strike into a bitter early confrontation between the two top candidates for an election that is still more than a year away. Biden tells workers that the big three automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, are doing incredibly well, and car workers should be doing incredibly well too. He adds that they deserve the significant raise they need and other benefits. White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre describes it as a historic trip. Jane Kathleen Gregorio for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump paid a visit to a gun store in South Carolina during a campaign swing through the state. While there, he mused about buying a gun. Trump stopped in the small town of Somerville, where he met with workers at a local campaign office. Following the meet and greet, he visited a local gun store where he glad-handed customers and staff. While looking at the weapons on display, a Glock handgun caught his eye.
Right now. Oh, I like that one.
We thought you might like it.
Do you want to see it? Can we get a picture of people? Look at this. I would love to get a picture.
I do want to see that.
Oh, good.
Trump posed for pictures with the gun but did not buy it. Under U.S. law, he is not allowed to own a firearm because he is under indictment in 4 criminal cases.
Anthony Rota resigns in face of mounting pressure after he honored a man who served in a Nazi World War II unit. The Speaker of Canada's Parliament has stepped down days after he honored a man who fought in a Nazi unit during World War II as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the House of Commons last week. Rota invited Yaroslav Hunka to a special Parliament session where he recognized the 98-year-old veteran as a Ukrainian hero. He received standing ovations in the House of Commons, including Zelensky and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who were in attendance. This was quickly followed by calls for explanation as a known human rights group called Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center was quick to point out Hunka's service in the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the Nazis' SS military unit.
It's with a heavy heart that I rise to inform members of my resignation as Speaker of the House of Commons.
Canadian legislators from all major parties had called for Rota to step down, with Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly calling him an embarrassment to the House and to Canadians. Russia said it was outrageous that Hunka was honored in Canada and has made calls to denazify the political space.
I reiterate my profound regret for my error in recognizing an individual in the House during the joint address to Parliament of President Zelensky. That public recognition has caused pain to individuals and communities, including the Jewish community in Canada and around the world, in addition to survivors of Nazi atrocities in Poland, among other nations. I accept full responsibility for my actions.
Mexico's president says he ordered reinforced security on the border of Chiapas state with Guatemala. This after the show of force by criminal groups. Macy Membreri has more.
The Chiapas district is one of the poorest in Mexico. It has been the scene of violent events including kidnappings, road blockades, and extortion. On Sunday, a video of hitmen parading in armed vehicles among the residents spread on social networks. President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador says there are organized crime groups that are allegedly disputing the territory in 3 border communities. He says it is a matter very limited to one region and it is already being attended to. The National Guard, the president says, is already there. Lopez Obrador says these criminal gangs seek to control the transfer of drugs. He says that although the gangs confront each other, fortunately, there have not been many murders. The president refers to videos in which some 250 people can be seen on the side of a road. Images of 15 ostentatious pickup trucks pass by, armed and armored by hand with men dressed as commandos and carrying long weapons. The crowd applauds and shouts, "Long live Sinaloa." Sinaloa is one of the most powerful cartels in the country. Macy Membreri for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Law enforcement agencies across South America are currently on a manhunt for Hector Guerrero Flores, the leader of the Tren de Aragua gang, who managed to escape from the luxurious prison he controlled in Venezuela. Flores had transformed the Tacloban jail into a lavish compound resembling a resort, complete with amenities such as a small zoo, nightclub, and a swimming pool. Families of inmates were even relocated within the prison premises, and various facilities like a makeshift bank and a restaurant were made available. His audacity extended to unrestricted movement within and outside the prison, allowing him to come and go at will. However, following a decisive operation involving 11,000 soldiers and police, control of the jail was regained, prompting a wide-scale manhunt for the escapee. Wanted posters featuring Flores have been distributed to police departments across South America, intensifying efforts to bring him to justice and dismantle the criminal network he leads.
Goes up in flames. Purdue Farms and Tyson Foods are in hot water for illegal child labor practices. And a crooked cop finds himself behind bars for sending his girlfriend to a mental health facility. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break. Don't go away.
Dumating ang taong masasabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Yep! At kapag siya'y natagpuan na, huwag mo nang pakawalan.
Ang tunay na kaibigan, laging nandyan kahit kailan.
Handang gawin ang lahat, maging happy ka lang.
Gagawin ang April Song! Para sa'yo, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan.
Tulad na lang ng inyong mga bagong kaibigan.
Tuwing umaga,
love,
Nipah, and everything! Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
6:30 ng umaga
sa Net 25! Let's not get there! Love, don't get it out. Love, don't get it.
Dito, ang inyong sumbong siguradong may respondeng katapat. Hindi nagdadalawang isip na tumulong sino man ang nangangailangan. Expose, Wiper Boys sa lungsod ng Makati, nagkalat ang kanilang modus ibubuking.
May level up na sila. Pupunta na sila doon sa bagay na hindi naman dapat nilang ginagawa.
Exclusive, jumper na perwisyo sa ilang residente sa Tondo, Maynila, inireklamo.
Kailangan magbantay pa kami 24 hours para mahuli sila.
Isa pang exclusive, ilan sa mga napiling individual na tutulungan ng responding ka-kings makikilala na. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi, ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
At least 113 people have been killed and more than 150 injured in a fire ripped through a crowded Iraqi wedding hall, pointing to indoor fireworks as the likely cause for the blaze that sparked a panic stampede for the exits. Reports say that flares shot up sparkling flames that ignited ceiling decorations before the fire engulfed highly flammable construction materials. The casualty toll was confirmed by the Health Ministry, who said most of the injured were being treated for burns, oxygen deprivation, and crush injuries sustained in the struggle to escape. A wedding guest said that as the bride and groom were having a slow dance, the flames from the fireworks started to climb to the ceiling, and the whole hall went up in flames. Civil defense authorities said the hall had been fitted with prefabricated panels that were highly flammable and contravened safety standards. 9 of the venue's staff were arrested and 4 arrest warrants were issued for its owners. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, meanwhile, declared 3 days of national mourning. He also ordered intensified periodic inspections of entertainment venues nationwide to ensure that safety measures are followed.
Meanwhile, in Singapore, Army specialists have detonated a 100-kilogram World War-era bomb found at a construction site. The unexploded aerial bomb was discovered last week where a condominium was being built in the city's Bukit Timah. A mushroom cloud then rose in the distance as bomb disposal experts carried out the first in a series of explosions. Reports say that it was the largest exercise involving a World War II relic in Singapore, where authorities have evacuated thousands of nearby residents. They added that the device likely contained around 47 kilograms of explosives that is strong enough to destroy an apartment block.
In France, health officials report a woman is dead after botulism after eating sardines at a border restaurant. 12 other people, mostly foreigners, are being treated for the rare condition. Botulism is a serious neurological illness typically brought on by eating food that has been improperly preserved. The restaurant had preserved the sardines itself. At Bordeaux's Pellegrin Hospital, a doctor says the woman had checked into a hospital near Paris after traveling back with her partner. She returned home and died there. Her partner remains in intensive care. Health services say 12 people were still receiving emergency treatment. They include American, Irish, German, and Canadian nationals. 5 were on respiratory support. All of them had eaten at the restaurant, the Chin Chin Wine Bar, between September 4 and 10. They all had sardines that had been stored by the restaurant owner himself in jars.
Germany has conducted a widespread operation raiding numerous locations nationwide after Interior Minister Nancy Faeser outlawed a neo-Nazi group accused of propagating their extremist ideology. In this coordinated effort, authorities targeted the group's headquarters and conducted searches in 26 homes situated across 12 different states. Minister Faeser has expressed the significance of this move in combating right-wing extremism. This action follows closely on the heels of Germany's recent ban on another neo-Nazi group with connections to the United States. German authorities, in a joint effort with the U.S., conducted investigations and subsequent raids on the residences of 28 members associated with the banned group.
Meat companies Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms are under federal inquiry over reports of illegal child labor. The U.S. Department of Labor has opened investigations into big meat companies Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms after a New York Times Magazine article this week showed migrant children working overnight shifts for contractors in the company's plants. The published report from the New York Times claimed that migrant children were used to clean Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms slaughterhouses. It included a horrific and detailed account of a 14-year-old boy hired by one of Purdue's contractors whose arm was nearly torn off while working at a slaughterhouse on the eastern shore of Virginia. The boy, along with other middle and high school-aged children, according to the Times, made up about a third of the overnight shifts at the plant. These migrant child workers used acid and pressure hoses to clean industrial machines. Under federal law, those tasks are strictly off limits for anyone under 18 because of the risks. Meanwhile, a Purdue spokesperson reportedly said the company had not been notified of the investigation, but planned to cooperate fully with any investigation.
A picnic was interrupted when a hungry black bear approached a group of visitors at Mexico's Chipinque Ecological Park.
Authorities arrested Pennsylvania police officer Ronald Keith Davis for allegedly forcing his ex-girlfriend to a mental health facility under false pretense. The district attorney's office released a video showing Davis tackling his ex-girlfriend to the ground. Initial reports say Davis's ex-girlfriend spent nearly a week in the mental institution, but authorities later deemed the woman as mentally fit. Davis was charged with unlawful restraint, felony strangulation, false imprisonment, recklessly endangerment of another person, and official oppression.
U.S. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, files a lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani. Hunter accuses Donald Trump's former lawyer of computer fraud for accessing personal data on his computer. Percy Parlade tells us more.
In a civil suit filed in California, Hunter Biden says Rudy Giuliani and Robert Costello were responsible for the total annihilation of his digital privacy. Costello is a lawyer for the former New York mayor. 53-year-old Hunter, who lives in California, is asking for a jury trial and unspecified damages. In 2020, Giuliani and Trump allies circulated data from a laptop that Hunter Biden allegedly abandoned at a computer repair shop in Delaware. Hunter's complaint reads, "Defendants have dedicated an extraordinary amount of time and energy toward looking for, hacking into, tampering with, manipulating, copying, disseminating, and generally obsessing over data that they were given that was taken or stolen from the plaintiff's devices." Hunter sued the owner of the computer repair shop earlier this year and the Internal Revenue Service for disclosing his tax history. The California suit is the latest legal challenge facing Giuliani. Giuliani has been indicted in Georgia along with Trump and others for conspiring to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in the southern state. Meanwhile, Hunter is currently under investigation by a Justice Department special counsel for possible tax evasion and is to appear in court in Delaware next month on a firearms violation. Percival Parlare for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is set to undergo surgery on Friday. Doctors will operate on his hip to relieve pain. Jeff Sanidad has more.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva says he is calm and optimistic about his upcoming hip procedure. And he says he could be back at work as early as the following Monday. Lula says his only fear is the anesthesia because he doesn't like losing control of his consciousness. The 77-year-old president suffers from chronic pain in his hip. He says he has been in constant pain since August of last year. At the time, doctors diagnosed him with osteoarthritis. He says it hurts to sleep, to get up, to stand. But he put off treatment until after last October's presidential election. Lula delayed treatment again because of a busy travel schedule this year that has taken him to several global events. Jeff Sanidad for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A newborn Sumatran elephant took its first steps in Aceh, Indonesia. Suci, the mother elephant, gave birth to a calf named Yuna at the Alukuyan Conservation Response Unit. Caretakers say baby Yuna represents a significant addition to the conservation efforts of critically endangered Sumatran elephants. Official data shows Sumatran elephants are on the verge of extinction, with only about 2,400 to 2,800 remaining in the world.
The European Court of Human Rights, or ECHR, begins hearing a case brought by 6 Portuguese youths against 32 nations for not doing enough to stop global warming. In the latest bid to secure climate justice through the courts, the group, aged 11 to 25, say they are suffering from anxiety over their health and living with a climate that is getting hotter with more natural disasters. The plaintiffs say the 27 European Union member states, along with Russia, Turkey, Switzerland, Norway, and Britain, have all failed to sufficiently limit greenhouse gas emissions. The move to file a complaint with the Strasbourg-based court was sparked by the massive wildfires that struck Portugal in 2017.
A única coisa que nós temos a certeza é que alguma coisa tem que ser feita, mas soluções em concreto soluções em concreto têm que ser pessoas de facto competentes, não meia dúzia de pirralhos em Portugal.
O nosso objetivo é que inicialmente haja uma ação e uma mudança, como o Martim falava, porque é isso que nós precisamos agora, de uma urgência em que se faça alguma coisa. E sendo que os Estados ou os governos têm todo esse poder, nós queremos primeiro começar a partir daí para que se realmente definam leis e definam regras para que as pessoas tenham algo para se reger.
Que é necessário fazer para nos garantir o direito a uma vida saudável, que
que é o mais básico dos direitos humanos. É só isso que nós estamos a pedir aos governos, é uma base legal sólida para que realmente comecem a existir medidas mais direcionadas, mais rígidas também, para nos garantir esse futuro que nós merecemos.
Meanwhile, the Strasbourg-based ECHR is taking the case seriously, labeling it a matter of priority and passing it to the body's top judges in its grand chamber. Judges must first rule on the admissibility of the case, since the Portuguese youth filed directly to the ECHR without first seeking recourse in domestic courts. Until now, the court's environmental decisions have not covered global warming, dealing with issues like natural disasters and industrial pollution. Coming right up, JPMorgan and Chase agrees to settle Jeffrey Epstein's case. China's robo-dogs take over the Asian Games. And SAG-AFTRA votes in favor of video game companies. Catch more news in business, tech, sports, and entertainment when we return.
We're in the sky! Kaya lumilipad na naman tayo. Sino ba itong uupo ngayon sa ating iconic chairs?
Finally, nag-guess na rin ako dito. Just canceled everything for you.
Talaga? Ay, naku, nakakatuwa naman. Medyo kakaiba ang ating papasukin ngayong araw. The Goodwill Resort with the Goodwill Cast. Woo! Tinur niya tayo sa kanyang bagong
mundo.
Tamang-tama, pinag-uusapan sila ng lahat ngayon. Tingnan ka!
Ayan na.
Ayan na. Alam mo talaga siya, no? Yes! Tatlong
Ayan!
buwan! Kinasal ka na! Yes! Ngayon natin malalaman ang totoo. So now, let's spill the coffee.
Spill the coffee.
Yes. And we're here at Net25. Ito ang tahanan ng Corina Interviews.
According to an independent survey, prices in China are recovering, providing more evidence that the worst may be over for the world's second biggest economy. The oil sector price index hit 50.9 in September, the highest level in 14 months, according to data management company World Economics Now, owned by S&P Global. China's economic recovery has lost steam since April as trade slows and a property crisis weighs on demand, construction activity, and overall confidence. It sparked concern that China was entering a balance sheet recession like Japan did decades ago. The latest survey adds to early signs of improvement. Official data by the Chinese government also show the economy picked up in August thanks to a summer travel boom and a bigger stimulus push. Factory production and retail sales growth exceeded expectations last month and credit demand improved, but challenges remain as the property sector has continued to plummet. In business news, global stock markets have hit the brakes. This as investors grapple with concerns over the prolonged elevation of U.S. interest rates and its potential impact on economic growth. In New York, Net25's Bobby Soriano provides us the update.
Investors around the world remained concerned about the possibility of prolonged high U.S. interest rates impacting economic growth. Most Asian and European markets closed in the red, and all major U.S. indices finished Tuesday with losses exceeding 1%. This follows a brief relief rally on Monday that was short-lived. U.S. consumer confidence saw a significant dip from August, likely due to the drag from higher gasoline and food prices, with the Conference Board reporting a drop from 108.7 to 103. Economic analysts warn of mounting headwinds, including a weakening labor market, diminishing savings, struggling equities, and the delayed effects of the Fed's aggressive rate hike campaign. Markets have been on edge since the recent Federal Reserve meeting, where the central bank held interest rates steady but hinted at potential rate hikes in 2023. These concerns were compounded by the looming threat of a government shutdown in Washington as lawmakers grappled with spending disputes. Investors sought safety in the US dollar, which reached multi-month peaks against the pound and euro, while the dollar index hit its highest level since November. The fear persists that maintaining high interest rates or further hikes could push economies into recession, reducing consumer and business spending. Major European markets like Paris and Frankfurt mirrored losses seen earlier in Asian markets, with London holding flat after initially trading up. In New York, Bobby Soriano from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The U.S. government reports that new home sales in the country slowed down in August but remains elevated. It says extremely limited supply in the housing market kept the number of transactions high. Rosel Feria has the details.
Right now, here in the U.S., inventory for existing homes is very low. Thus, potential home buyers are looking into purchasing new properties, which elevates the demand for them. This, despite high mortgage rates brought about by the Fed's campaign of interest rate hikes aimed at taming inflation. Current lending rates have pushed up borrowing costs on popular 30-year mortgages in the country. This makes it harder for Americans to buy a home. This also discourages existing homeowners who bought during the recent period of historically low interest rates from selling their properties. The U.S. Federal Reserve has increased interest rates 11 times over the last 18 months. Inflation remains stuck above the central bank's long-term target of 2%. In Washington, D.C., Rosel Feria for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
JPMorgan Chase & Company has reached an agreement with the U.S. Virgin Islands to settle a lawsuit alleging that the bank participated in disgraced American financier Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking venture. The alleged victims, all minors at the time of their interaction with Epstein, said that they were harmed by the bank's relationship with Epstein because it provided banking services that fueled his international sex trafficking operation. Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to soliciting a minor for prostitution and was arrested in 2019 on child sex trafficking charges. The country's largest bank will pay $75 million to end the litigation, with $55 million going to charities and assisting victims, while the remaining $20 million will be allotted to pay for the attorney fees of law firm Motley Rice. While the settlement does not involve an admission of liability, the bank institution has expressed its regrets about any association it once had with the suspect. The settlement stops the case short of going to trial, ending a 9-month legal battle that began in December of last year when the U.S. Virgin Islands sought upwards of $190 million in compensation from the bank, claiming that it purposefully ignored any warning signs regarding the malicious activity at play. JPMorgan said it had also reached a confidential agreement with former executive James Staley, who worked with Epstein while running JPMorgan's asset management unit before rising to the ranks of becoming the chief executive officer of the bank's corporate and investment banking division. Hangzhou, a city of 12 million people in China's east, has built up a reputation as the home for tech startups. The city is said to rival the technology and machines of the United States and Japan. Catherine Ortula has the details.
Robot dogs take over in China's Asian Games host city, Hangzhou. The city is the unofficial home of China's tech industry and other mind-boggling machines that serve, amuse, and police visitors. Jiang Xiaoyu, brand manager of Deep Robotics, said their robo-dogs monitor and ensure the power supply for Hangzhou City. Their machines also entertain foreign guests in hotels by dancing, playing the piano, and cooking. Founder of Kwai Fresh, Chen Xiaoqiang, said their company integrated cuisine craftsmanship with intelligent devices. They used Internet of Things, or IoT, to collect data and process information in the cloud. Chen said this technology gave better quality food products.
身体情况，然后进行远程的急救，或者这个。
就跟我们大家一起烧的饭是吗？其实我觉得差别不是很大，然后看着也比较清爽，然后超过。
Misa Zhu, CEO of Chinese tech company Rokid, said they have developed emergency plans for public safety for China's Asian Games. But will robots effectively replace humans in addressing physical conditions that may arise on site? Qian's personal opinion is a no.
机器人在那边弹钢琴的做一些互动也是可能从我个人的角度呢，我不会去说机器人代替人类，因为它还是一个工具，它会帮助到人类
From Catherine Ertula, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Google marks its silver anniversary with its current CEO seeking opportunities with artificial intelligence. Looking back on the dates, the Google search engine was founded by doctoral students Sergey Brin and Larry Page in Stanford University's computer science program on September 4, 1998. On September 27 of the same year, the company Google Incorporated was officially established with the very first doodle that appeared at the long-running Burning Man event in Black Rock City, Nevada. Google CEO Sundar Pichai wrote a blog commemorating the milestone event. In his blog, Pichai highlights Google's gratitude for the users' curiosity, which has fueled the company for its progress. He adds that Google has 15 products that each serve more than 500 million people and businesses with 6 that help more than 2 billion users each.
As the Asian Games continues, Filipino pride stands strong in the tournament. Vin Pascua has the score.
First up tonight, Filipina skateboarder sensation Marjeline Didal fails to defend the women's street final of skateboarding. Bothered by surgically repaired left ankle, Didal relinquished her title after falling off her board several times. She winded up last among 8 competitors after making her first and second run. China ruled the event with gold and silver, while Japan secured the bronze medal. In the brighter note, Filipina tennis sensation Alex Ayala stays on course in chase for Asian Games gold. This after Ayala won over Japanese Kiyoka Okamura in Wednesday's quarterfinals. Ayala defeated Okamura with a come-from-behind win in 3 sets, 0-6, 7-5, and 6-0. The 4-time ITF women's singles winner will duel either China's Jinwen Zhang or South Korea's Sohyun Park in the semifinals on Thursday. Reporting for sports, Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Writers Guild of America finally made progress in achieving a fair deal with the AMPTP. But now Hollywood could face another possible work stoppage after SAG-AFTRA approves a strike against video game companies. Stephanie Mayo has the scoop.
The Writers Guild of America finally made headway in achieving fair negotiations with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. But SAG-AFTRA may add another strike. Video game voice actors and motion capture performers are in favor of authorizing a strike against major video game companies that include Activision, Disney character voices, Insomniac, and more. SAG-AFTRA, the union representing Hollywood actors, have voted from September 5th until the 25th 25th, with 98.32% of the members voted to authorize a strike, setting the motion for another possible work stoppage in Hollywood. Despite this majority vote, SAG-AFTRA is not officially on strike. Instead, this authorization allows them to go on strike should negotiations fail. The next negotiations with the major video game companies are slated for September 26, 27, and 28. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A few months before the annual Tournament of Roses parade, the search for a new royal court and queen takes place. Hundreds of young women pursue the opportunity to not only ride the royal float on New Year's Day, but also to serve as an ambassador for the cities in the greater Los Angeles region. To tell us more, here are Net 25's Alan and Eva Basalyahin.
The search for next year's Tournament of Roses Queen and Royal Court has begun, with a series of interview sessions spread out throughout the month. What's at stake is a $7,500 educational scholarship for each young lady that is selected,
as well as the prestige and responsibility that goes along with being a Tournament of Roses ambassador for the city of Pasadena and the major metropolitans of Los Angeles.
So this is a 105-year of history of picking a court to represent the association. And we started out very long time ago trying to find those representatives that can be in the community, doing community service, doing the things that a royal court would do.
It definitely got more nerve-wracking as we went from room to room, and then I got in the final room and I started to freak out a little bit, but the whole process was just exciting, and I'm really happy about it.
I think before I was definitely nervous. When I showed up, I immediately saw somebody else that I knew, and then I started introducing myself to other girls around me. So really quickly, it felt like I had a little bit of a community of these other young girls. Being able to make those connections really helps with your confidence and with growing as a person, because women really uplift other women.
I was born with cerebral palsy. Living with it for so long and seeing how I play out in my community, it really isolated me at first, but I started to really embrace my identity. Being able to come back to a community you can rely on after being alone and feeling alone for so long is something that, number one, I really hope I can find at the Rose Court, and number two, contribute to. I answered in my interview that I want to be in the Rose Court to show girls that they don't have to separate intelligence and femininity, and to represent my Filipino-American community as a first-gen immigrant. And I think the appeal is really to represent your community and to also be a role model to other young girls who are growing up just like you, and show them that things will be all right and that you can also inspire and create change within your own small community.
What comes after the coronation is a whirlwind tour of media engagements, volunteer events, and community appearances, all leading up to riding the Royal Court Parade float on New Year's Day.
But to get to that grand stage, these hopefuls must demonstrate academic achievement, participation in their communities and schools, and a level of grace and tact expected from this city's royalty. Plus, they have to be able to wave like royalty too.
Reporting from Pasadena, California, Eva and Alan from Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
So young and beautiful, and so full of hope.
Yes.
Halfway through the week already, and to send you off tonight, here's a quote from Larry Page, an American business magnate and computer scientist. Optimism is important. You have to be a little silly about the goals you are going to set. You should try to do things that most people would not do.
And speaking of optimism, it is Hump Day Wednesday, but don't worry, you're more than halfway through that work week.
So keep looking forward.
Yeah. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I'm Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alagao-Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.